Okay, everyone, how are we doing today? So today is Sunday, and we're going to learn some Tanya. Beginning of the week, it's Adar, so emphasis on Simcha. Simcha, Simcha, Simcha. Happiness breaks all bounds. And to remind all of us that anything that we're looking to break through in our life, and our mindset setting is all this coming month open. You're going to see literal openings. Just start paying attention to things all of a sudden coming through to you. This is a month of blessing. I mean, everything is good throughout the entire year, but this is a month where I think Hashem reserves certain times that are openings for just blessings. It's just the way it is. When an analogy for this would be like, someone that knows someone's like, hey, listen, you don't want to speak to him right now. Come to him. Usually on Fridays at the end of the week, he's in a good mood. He'll get, So the Eibishter has certain times of the year that he creates where is what we call Azman Mukhshar for things to come through. So today's Tanya is incredible. So let's learn it together. Yesterday we discussed that the Alter Rebbe was going into saying that there is times where we need to simply humble the Yetzer Hara, the spirit of the Yetzer Hara, and remind ourselves who we are, but remind the Yetzer Hara, remind ourselves what the Yetzer Hara is to us. And so yesterday's Tanya, the Alter was saying, you speak very sharply to the Yetzer Hara, you say, you're blocking me from our Ein Sof coming into the world. You call him out, Now we're going to go to the reasoning. The reason that humbling the spirit of the Sitra Achra is effective in crushing it is that in truth there's no substance whatever in the Sitra Achra. So I think today, we're going to read a little bit and I'll give you the pointer of it. The truth is that there is no actual substance to the Yetzer Hara. This is a very important thing to remember. There is no substance of its own. It's like darkness, which completely, when you turn on a light in the room, the darkness it is gone because the darkness doesn't have a being of its own. It's the absence of light. And if that's the case, then what does that mean? It receives its life force from the light, which means to say its existence is the absence of light, which means it receives its life force ultimately from light. Light allows itself to appear as darkness when it's not there, which gives the room for existence of darkness. It's a little interesting what I'm saying right here. So he's saying here, so too with klipa, sitra achra, which means to say existence, anything, any article or being, existence that's not in alignment of kedusha, it's not an extension of holiness. Where does it come from? Ultimately, everything comes from the ultimate source of Hashem, which is his expression is light. But Hashem created in a elusive existence. It's an appearance of an obstacle, which means to say something that's trying to get you to not do the good. But where does it get its existence? It's a parasite. It gets existence from your source, which is kedusha. But Hashem created this sitra achra in order for you to be strengthened and to constantly keep you in check of your humility to do the good when you have the opportunity to do something which isn't good. So this isn't good. This, say, food that's not exactly kosher, or this being, this person that's not exactly kosher coming to you into your life, or this thought, let's start with our thought that's not exactly kosher coming to you, where does it get its life force from? There's only one life force, the ultimate Ein Sof Hashem, right? So when you have a Sitra Achra coming to you, telling you to make confusing messages, from telling you messages of what's not actually what's best for you, where does it come from? It gets its life force from you. It's a emissary of Hashem to keep you in check. Hashem creates a klipa, which means it's kalif, it's like a peel, it's a parasite, to confuse you, but it doesn't have a life of its own. It's like darkness, which the second light, it's gone, because its life force is from you. So we're going to emphasize this a little more, we're going to explain this a little more. For those of us, starting with myself, that struggle with mental health, when you have intrusive thoughts, or people who experience difficulty of, OCD, anxiety, the main thing is to not fear it. So when you go to sleep and you're having like a fear, where's fear? It's control. You're scared, which when you're scared, what you're exclaiming is that this entity in your head, this thought, has power, which gives you fear. So when I'm scared, you're pretty much giving power to its existence. You're telling yourself that it's an existence of its own, which is not true. If you exclaim that you are the power, and it derives its power from the one and only source, which is holiness, which if you're in alignment with, if you trust and let go, it will dissipate because it has no life force of its own. So let's read this inside. I just gave a little bit outside. We'll read it inside. So to the Sitra Achra, even though it has a strong life for a lot of vitality, it gives life to all animals, the impure animals in Ashtam Musalam, and the soul of the nations of the world. Even our animalistic soul derives its vitality from the Nefesh, from this klipa, from the Sitra Achra. All its life force is not of its own, everything comes from the one and only source. Therefore, it completely is nullified, like darkness dissipates in the light of light, right? From kedusha. Just like darkness is gone when it comes to light. Just when it comes to regard to the holiness of man's divine soul, the Eibush gave permission and ability in order for it to raise itself kenegda. Kadesh Adam is earliest Gabriel, the Eibush gave the ability for the Sitra Achra to come to you in the middle of the night, to come to you, only for you to be able to overcome and win it over, right, by keeping it in the language here, abhorrent, and despised in your eyes. For through this he humbles the Sitra Achra and abhors it. He humbles the Sitra Achra. And when you do this, the Eibishter has a lot of pleasure from seeing you pass, quote unquote, a test, which is to remind you that your life force is Hashem. So the Eibishter created there to be a Sitra Achra, which can be elusive to look like it has its own power, by the fact it's telling you to do something opposite of the will of Kedusha. But really it comes from your life force. It comes from Kedusha. And its job is to have you challenged to keep aligned with Kedusha, and it's getting its life from Kedusha because its employer is your life force. There's only one life force, Hashem. And therefore you have this entity which is coming to you in the middle of the night or coming to you in the middle of the day to try to challenge you, for you to win it over and proclaim the true existence, and it will dissipate. That's what happens every time. Anyone who's been through these struggles knows, let go, let God, and it will go away. Because it doesn't have life of its own. It's just an appearance that Hashem created for you to be humble and humble it, to remind and express the true existence of Ar Ein Sof. The arousal of man below. To crush the Sitra Achra causes an arousal above. To fulfill what is written, from there will I bring you down, says Hashem, to the Sitra Achra, which seeks to rise against godliness and to obscure it. This means that he deprives it of its dominion and power and withdraws from it the strength and authority which should be given to rise it up. Therefore, thereupon it automatically becomes nullified and is banished. Just as darkness is nullified before physical light. So now he brings the story of the Meraglim. The spies, when they first came to the land, they said, the giants are bigger than us. Right? They didn't believe in the ability of Hashem to overcome the giants of the land. So they gave a hazard to the Yidden. They warned the Yidden, we don't think it's a good idea to go into Israel. And then later, if you know the story, they later said, we will readily go up. We will readily go up to conquer the land. They all of a sudden switched their position. The Alter Rebbe goes on and says, whence did their faith in Hashem's ability to return to them? Where did this all of a sudden faith come to them to we could do it? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't show them any miracles in between their doubt to when they all of a sudden said, we'll go in. Only what Moshe do, he told them that Hashem was angry with them and had sworn not to allow them into the land. What value did this divine anger and oath have on them? How did the Eibusher's anger infuse their faith in Hashem that all of a sudden they believed Hashem can win this war for them? Rather, only because Yidden in essence are believers, the son of believers. It's only that an elusive thought came into them, enclosed itself in your body, and covered the Ar Kedushas Nafshim Alakis B'Gazas Ruach V'Gavasa with its ego, with its haughtiness and arrogance, the Chutzpah Bli Tamadas with its Shtus Tekdusha. Of Sitra Achra. And therefore, when Hashem got angry, we hear Mekodash Rodriguez with a loud voice and said, says, how long shall I bear with the evil congregation? Your carcasses shall fall into the wilderness. I, Hashem, have spoken, I will surely do it until all this evil congregation. Okay, so Hashem is saying, spoke with anger. What happened? When they heard these harsh words, it broke it penetrated them and broke this Sitra Achra from its arrogance. Yisrael Atzmahim Aminim, and revealed to them their own belief in Hashem to stand against the Sitra Achra. And so this author says, this, any person can learn from this, that if you fall doubt in your emunah on Hashem, to recognize that this can only be an elusive thought. How precious is it, people, that any doubt and fear is not you? It's a very big relief. If it was you, then you have a problem. But once you recognize it's just your brain operating on a ulterior life force which doesn't have a life of its own, it's a parasite that entered, which is by a divine will, entered to confuse, for you to win it over by reminding and humbling it, telling it what it is, and letting it dissipate as you align yourself through action and thought with Kedusha, which it derives its life force from. Then what do you have to worry about? It's interesting, I was speaking to a friend and we realized that a nice example for this would be, imagine you funded your competition, which means to say, let's say you were in the makeup business, right? And someone comes over to me saying do you know that this and this company, they seems like they're doing really well and they're moving a store into your community. And that might be bad news for you. If you funded that store, would you be scared? You would tell the person, oh, don't worry, I invested actually in that company. I invested in my competition. I fund the competition. So where I'm going with this is, if you realize you're funding the Sitra Achra, would you be scared? If the one and only life force is the life force behind the Klippa, would you be scared? So for me today to realize that any struggle I'm going through currently in my life, where is it coming from? The source of all good. Is there anything to be scared of? So in the language here of the Tanya, when you have sfekas and emunah, to recognize that these sfekas are coming from a thought, but your essence belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which you are Maimin ben Maimin. Hear this, even your thoughts that are of sfekas and emunah, their life, their role, their resource also doesn't have sfekas and emunah. It believes in Hashem and it's doing Hashem's work by coming to you and trying to confuse you, because that's what Hashem, which it believes in and derives its life ultimately from, wants from it. It was just given permission to confuse the person, but divrei sheker merma, with just merely deceitful words, in order that you may be rewarded for mastering it. It is similar to the harlot, that is a prostitute. So the story is that the melech, a king, sent his son out of the king on a path outside the palace, and he prepared and paid a escort to be on the way to try to appeal his son to have relations with her, to test the son to see if he would keep to his values and to not do it. And so the reason why the Alter brings this example is because here again you see this concept that the Zaina herself doesn't want the son to do it with her. She's being paid by the Melech to persuade the son, to give the son more strength in his life, to as he abstains from these obstacles, to strengthen and clarify for his own self who he is. And that happens through tests like that. So the Zaina herself doesn't want you to listen to it. How amazing is that for today to consider and think into the fact that any struggle you have, its resource doesn't want you to go off the path. Think about it. When you have thoughts to do anything which isn't aligned, and to thine own self be true, we know what's good for us or not good for us. Next time, I challenge anyone who listens to this video, the next time you have a fear, and the symptom is sadness, depression, anxiety, worry, anytime you're feeling any of those, it's the thought pattern at play in that moment. Consider the fact that it, wherever it's coming from, wants you to be at peace. Whoa, consider that. Whatever thought or anxiety you have in any moment, the thought pattern at play wants you to be at peace. Every person that comes to your life that's annoying you wants you to be at peace, wants you to be, it's just coming to you because the Eibishter created the world in a way that we should be constantly confronted with a component that wants you to abstain and overcome it and tell it what it truly is, for you to strengthen your relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone, I bless everyone with just a peaceful night, and I'm excited to continue giving these classes today, each day.